By default, you'll automatically receive your attendee's name and email address when they sign up for your event. But we can also customize these registration fields so that you can understand your audience better. From the event dashboard, we'll head over to Event Setup and then click Registration Fields. And you'll see I've already got a few set up to demonstrate. So let's click to add a new field. So you can choose between adding short text, long text, a URL, a drop-down, and a checkbox. So let's try, for example, the drop-down. So let's make the title of the question say, how did you hear about us? Now, these placeholders will appear in the response box to give the attendee a bit of an idea about the kind of data they should be entering. But this is just for your text responses, so it's not applicable to a drop-down. So I'll just leave this blank. Now you can choose to add a description, which will just help describe the question in more detail, and that will sit in one of these informational I boxes. And you can also opt to make this question mandatory by checking the box. Otherwise, it remains optional. So now with these drop-downs, you enter each response option on a new line. So let's say, for example, we have social media, email newsletter, Google search, and radio. Now remember, the attendee will only be able to select one of these. Don't forget to click Save, and note that all of these questions are listed in the order of how they'll appear to the public. So you can just use the arrows to rearrange their order if you wish. You can also click the 3 dots to edit these questions or delete entirely. So you can continue setting up these questions based on how you want the attendee to respond. So with short text, the attendee can type their response in the text box, but they'll be cut off at 150 characters. With long text, they've got the freedom to type more lengthy responses. You also have URL, where HeySummit will make sure it receives an active web URL from your attendee. So you might ask something like, enter your company website here to be featured on our networking day, for example. So let's see how your attendees would experience these different types of questions. So I'm going to view my public event, and I'll just move through the checkout process quickly. So I'll just enter an email address and sign up for a free ticket. At the final stage of the checkout, you'll see these registration fields. So you'll see we can select something from the drop-down. We can also see this checkbox in action. So we can opt to be emailed after the event. Over here, you can see a text box question. So I can hover over the I button to read the description that I set up and get a better idea of what I'm being asked. And I can also see the placeholder text in light grey to give me an idea of how I should be responding to this question. Lastly, you'll see this question is asking for a website URL, which I set up as a URL registration field. Now, have a look at what happens if I don't enter a web URL and try to complete my order. So you'll see it corrects this and asks me to resubmit my answer. This will also happen if you don't answer a mandatory question. It will ask you to complete the box before proceeding. Now, how do you manage the data received from these registration fields? So back on your event dashboard, if you go to Activity and Reporting and click Attendees, you can see your drop down and you can see your checkbox questions in a really handy graph, which will keep automatically updating for you. You can then click on the Export button to export your attendee report. This report will be emailed to you via a link. And once we click to download and open this report, we'll see all our registration fields listed with the attendee's response, so we can have all of that data in one place.